We are Star FM, sounding good all the time. Thank you for making us your station of choice. Good evening and welcome to the Disability Factor, a program that seeks to amplify the voices of persons with disabilities. I'm Spatiswe Mpofu. Tonight we are talking about the inclusion of persons with disabilities in decision-making processes. But before we get into our discussion tonight, just a quick reminder that on the breakout, we have launched a new segment called the Disability Lounge on Wednesdays from 5:15 to 5:30 a.m. as Tamin Ndlovu will be joined every week by former Star FM presenter Nyams, who is now based in Germany. Nyams will be looking at everyday issues affecting persons with disabilities. This is on the Disability Lounge from 5:15 to 5:30 a.m. every Wednesday on the breakout with Tammy. Persons with disabilities are often excluded from public decision-making processes. Their views are seldom solicited in making national decisions that affect their lives, and thus their participation is very, very limited. In 2013, Zimbabwe made great strides towards recognizing the rights of persons with disabilities by ratifying the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, UNCPRD. And Article 4A of the UNCPRD directs the adoption of appropriate legislative measures for the implementation of the rights recognized in the UNCRPD, and in section Article 4B, the convention directs states parties to take all appropriate measures to modify or abolish existing laws that constitute discrimination against persons with disabilities. Government's commitment towards fulfilling, promoting and protecting the rights of persons with disabilities as directed by the UNCRPD is demonstrated through the formation of the National Disability Policy and also the crafting of the Disability Bill. So to help us with this discussion tonight, I am joined on the line by Vekitemba Mlauzi from Lawyers with Disabilities, as well as the representative of persons with disabilities in the Senate, Senator Naspa Manyau. Good evening, Vekitemba and Senator Manyau. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, listeners. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. And to you, our valued listener, please feel free to be part of this conversation by sending your comments, your contributions, or even questions via our WhatsApp platform on 0775 897 897, 0775 897 897. I think I will start with you, Senator, by virtue of being a lady here. You will excuse us, Vekitemba. I just have to honor the lady. So, Senator, what are the major stepping stones that Zimbabwe has made in ensuring there is inclusion of persons with disabilities in decision-making processes?
Thank you. We have the National Disability Policy that was launched by His Excellency President Emerson Mnangagwa in June 2021. This for PWDs is indeed a stepping stone, as it supports and strives to ensure that PWDs are also included in all decision processes and in everything. Because when we look at how hospitals used to treat persons with disabilities in medication, it was really difficult. For example, when someone with a disability wants to give birth, all the nurses would call each other to come and witness the miracle or whatever they would call it. But then the National Disability Policy came to erase all that. But it will only be effective if we have the bill, because there's no policy without a policy is not a policy without being supported by the law. So we encourage persons with disabilities to participate in when the bill is circulating in the country.
Okay. Coming to you, Bekitemba, do you have anything to add on what the country has done so far in ensuring that there is inclusion of PWDs in decision-making processes?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, like the Senator has said, in addition to that, the country has put together a new constitution, which constitution also provides for inclusive senators. We have two now, whose duty is to make sure that all policies, particularly laws that go via parliament, they are checked to ensure that there is disability inclusion. I'm aware of a local government policy as well that was put in place by the then Minister of Local Government, Mr. Chombo. Minister Chombo at the time, where he called for inclusion in all councils in the country to ensure that persons with disabilities are well represented in all spheres of decision making. So this ensures that the persons with disabilities are included in decision making echelons at the national and at the local government level. There are also efforts that are ongoing in various sectors of government, what is so-called the executive efforts to ensure that persons with disabilities are well represented in all spheres of government.
And what are the core principles that should be considered in the development of policies and programs related to persons with disabilities?
Yeah, these principles, there are so many of them, depending on which way you are looking at it, or which particular area you are considering. But in general, what is critical is to ensure that all there is disability inclusion. That's the starting point. Okay? So, of the many that I have talked about, I will just pick one randomly. Or you will find that when it comes to inclusion, it is important to eliminate any barriers that may exist in any particular situation. It could be an organization at a government level. It could be a company or a business. So eliminate barriers or provide what are called additional requirements, which amount to what is known as reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities. So secondly, it is important to make sure that the policies that are being made are in sync with the requirements or the laws that are set in the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. There is also the need to collaborate with other stakeholders. It could be persons with disabilities themselves. It could be other members of the disability community, as may be relevant in particular circumstances. As the concept goes, there is need not to, they say, leave no one behind. So persons with disabilities must be involved in whatever programs and the policies are being crafted. Then there is what is called the twin track approach, which is very critical to disability inclusion. All this must be supported by data which informs what the disability phenomenon that is relevant in the particular circumstances. For an example, if it's education, we need to know the data that relates to the education. In other words, we need to understand the persons with disabilities who are involved in that particular sector and what shortcomings, what barriers are they facing.
Okay, and so when we talk about all these things and the fact that people with disabilities have to participate in decision-making processes, in political processes, we cannot speak about that without leaving the issue of information, because we notice that there is also a gap in terms of access to information. What then can be done to ensure that people get enough information and correct information about the need for them to participate in these processes? How best can we ensure that everybody gets that information? Temba?
Okay, thank you so much. When it comes to information dissemination, it's an issue that is a cause for concern for persons with disabilities. Information must be disseminated in accessible format for persons with disabilities so that they are able to participate effectively in policy making, isn't it? So we must make sure.
Thank you for calling Holiday Inn, a member of the Intercontinental Hotel Group.
We seem to be having a cross line there. You can go ahead, Temba. My apologies.
Yes, I don't know what happened. There was a disturbance. So anyway, I was saying that it's important to have this information in accessible format so that the persons with disabilities are able to get this information and then are able to process it so that there is effective participation. For an example, the Constitution talks of sign language as being one of the languages that are recognized in Zimbabwe. Two, you must make sure that information is also available in audio format. It could be in PDF format. It could be in Braille. There are many other formats that are critical for persons with disabilities so that they are also well informed. They are abreast of what is happening in terms of the goings on. This will then enable them to participate effectively in